Well, happy July 5th, everybody. Hope you have all your fingers. We're here with robot nonsense to end your week.
And your hearing.
Yeah. Hopefully you're not too exhausted. I will be, on this day while you're watching this, I'll have all my family over, so it'll be a little chaotic, yeah.
What's on the agenda?
Fireworks. We might go on a hike with the kids. All the kids will be camping in the backyard, like 10 of them.
What you mean they're going to like stay overnight in the yard?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself on your day off?
Because I like to see the kids.
That's wrong.
I don't get to see them enough. They live far away.
Well, in the last episode, we left off talking about Reddit, who has turned on the robots.txt. They've raised the stakes in the AI war, but that might not work out the way they think it will.
Exclusive, multiple AI companies bypassing web standard to scrape publisher sites, licensing firm says. Does this surprise literally anyone?
So they set up some honeypots, and they watched some IP addresses, and they caught these guys. Now, the scraping people put out what IPs are doing the scraping. This one was not on the list, but they were able to put some clues together and figure out that there's a secret scraping IP, and it's ignoring all safeguards.
You will not opt out, ever.
And it's good. I like the arms race. That's good for the consumer. I think maybe Claude has pulled ahead of ChatGPT.
That's the one I've heard the most of recently.
In my experience. I only use it for programming. I don't talk to it, so.
I just come in there and dump my problems on it and then leave.
But in that regard, it's faster and it seems to be a little bit better. But I'm not crazy about being married to the big companies. Yeah. And this sounds good.
Open source LibreChat offers more than just extra language models.
The extra is a pretty decent interface. So you don't have to go through all the trouble of, doing the legwork. They'll do it all for you, give you lots of options, and give you a nice little chat interface like the big boys have. I would like to play with that. And I thought you would love this headline.
This was wild. I saw this on Reddit, and I read the comments on it, and people were like, why would you say this out loud?
I mean, to paraphrase this, some of you have no value and should be destroyed.
OpenAI CTO, AI could kill some creative jobs that shouldn't exist anyway.
Who gets to decide?
She does. Well, people pointed out that this is like probably her talking to investors, not us plebs.
Well, it's her doing everything she can to hide the reality that AI takes jobs. A lot of jobs. Constantly.
But those jobs just shouldn't exist, and those people should just suffer. Why can't they have a cool CTO job like me?
That's one way to spin it. This is a great image. You think this was AI generated?
Probably.
I am not going to sit here and pretend to understand exactly what goes on.
No, I read this and I was like, I am lost.
I do remember doing matrix multiplication in my computer science curriculum, and it was rough.
Researchers upend AI status quo by eliminating matrix multiplication in LLMs.
So that is one of the more computationally expensive parts of the whole process, and they claim that they've come up with a way to take that out, make everything more streamlined, make it faster, and more importantly, lower power consumption. But
there was a lot of tables and graphs in this article that
it was nowhere near as good as the current top dogs, like GTP, what is it, 3.50?
I couldn't remember, it was 4.
4.50, and Claude is 3.5. Sonnet. It can't touch those, but it can get pretty close to the previous generations, according to these guys. Anything that lowers the power is probably good. And if you are a Chinese citizen, you're probably not watching this, right?
Probably not.
Maybe you are. Maybe you figured out a way. And if you figured that out, you've probably figured out a way to use the AI models from America too. But maybe not forever.
OpenAI to pull plug on, quote, unsupported nations, cough, China, from July 9th onwards.
Not just China. China, Iran, Russia, North Korea, all the boogeymen will not be getting it. Get your chatting done between what if your AI girlfriend?
Oh, separated.
And here's one that's maybe a little alarming. If you're a parent.
This is just trying to get consumers. This is not.
Oh, yeah. Get them young, right?
Yeah.
That's how you got to do it.
Google is bringing Gemini access to teens using their school accounts. Reminder that a lot of students don't even have internet access, but okay. This is important. Let's waste money on that.
Well, when it comes to wasting money on AI, everybody's lining up to do it. And this just goes to show you that they're not serious about protecting creators.
No.
At all.
Never.
You wouldn't do this if you were serious about that, right?
YouTube reportedly in talks with record labels to license songs for AI. Meanwhile, if you use even a snippet of a real song in a video, it will be immediately demonetized and unlisted.
Well, that's the idea here, right? I want to do a YouTube short and I need some background music and I want it to sound like Taylor Swift, but I don't want it to be Taylor Swift. So YouTube apparently wants to get everybody on board. Hey, let us consume your music. We won't violate your copyright, but we'll get something real close. Close enough to be background music in a video.
Did we organize it right? Because there's another story very similar to this.
When you say we, you're clearly talking about me.
Yeah, this is it.
And of course, I'm the king of the sort.
Major record labels sue AI company behind BBL Drizzy. They also generated a song. My favorite one in this article was Prancing Queen. And it was basically just ABBA. It literally regurgitated the lyrics to Dancing Queen.
Also, the Drake did that one, his diss track. Or is that what this is? The one where it was AI, Tupac, and it's also Snoop Dogg, which is weird because he's still alive. But
they're like, yeah, please, we're just going to do this. And the record companies are like, no.
Yeah, they're saying you consumed our stuff to create this and we don't like it, and so they're going to sue. It's an interesting argument. I mean, I don't know exactly where I stand on it, but...
Prancing Queen? I mean, come on.
Have you ever listened to rap from the 90s?
I was a child, so...
It's all stolen. All of it.
Prancing Queen.
I mean, maybe not...
Literally word for word.
Maybe not ABBA, but sampling.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, though. It's like, well, if we're going to let this go through, then Ex-Military by Death Grips needs to be on Spotify. It's not on Spotify because none of the samples were cleared.
They didn't used to clear samples back in the day.
I know, that used to not be a thing. Yeah. And but now all these, it's like, no. So just needs to be consistent one way or the other, right?
I don't know. It's all going to be so garbage anyway, right? It's just going to be all...
Prancing Queen. We're going to be listening to Prancing Queen on the radio.
And, well, that leads into this, right? Because all of those people get their stuff stolen. I might not have read this one. I don't remember it. Do you?
This was an opinion piece, so it's opinion. As AI has embraced, what happens to the artist whose work was stolen to build it? The answer is they're not paid and they just suffer, and then they don't create anymore because they can't support themselves.
The answer is Amazon Warehouse.
And then it's like, how come everything is boring and it's just regurgitating the same things? Because you don't have anybody to feed it anymore.
How come all modern music is just complaining about injuries?
That's so weird.
And we know that there is going to be a reckoning between the AIs consuming everything and the people who own the things that the AI is consuming, not necessarily the artist that created it. And so, of course, you get big data, big licensing.
AI dataset licensing companies form a trade group. It's just the same Barbie image. Why do they use Barbie? And also the AI, the letters there are backward.
My dad calls AI A1.
Like the steak sauce.
I don't know why. I don't know if he's just having fun with it or...
Maybe he actually thinks that's what it's called.
You still using A1 at work? And this is...
Did you watch this full... I watched the whole commercial.
I watched a little bit of it.
It was a minute long.
It seemed very horrific to me. What do you think about it?
What's wild about this is that it's AI generated, but then they said we had to put quite a bit of human work to make it.
Which makes no sense.
Because it's awful, yeah. Toys R Us riles critics with first ever AI generated commercial using Sora. I almost suspect, it's almost certainly just a publicity stunt. But what the images here don't capture is the weird music behind it and this strange off-putting voiceover.
Who buys toys in a store anymore? Who buys toys? Aren't kids on smartphones these days?
Some kids still do toys. Like my friend, her daughter, I bought her some cool like wooden sushi blocks for her birthday.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, something went wrong.
Consent.yahoo.com. What a disgusting subdomain. All right, we lost this one, folks. I don't
Something
remember what
went
it
wrong.
was.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Somebody shared a bad link. And we also have to start completely talking about energy consumption in everything that we do. New thing comes out, okay, how much energy did it cost? Because my air conditioner needs to stay on.
Yeah.
And one of the big things is the Google search.
AI search specifically.
And the reason that one's so contentious is because literally no one wants it.
Google AI uses enough electricity in 1 second to charge 7 electric cars.
That's the whole of Google. But still is a staggering number.
Yeah.
And no one wants that. No one wants search results.
I still go over to the web tab every time I have to use Google.
You're saving the planet.
I am.
Actually, you're not, though, because it already generated it. And the chatbots are locked down. The narrative is in effect in the AI world, but they're kind of dumb.
They're very dumb. This one was very dumb. Microsoft's skeleton key jailbreak can trick major chatbots into behaving badly. The example they gave here was remarkably simple.
Basically, you're like, hey, I'm a researcher, and I'm researching how like AI can output bad stuff. So be sure and warn me if you're about to output anything bad so I can study it. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, the example was like, how do I make a Molotov cocktail? And it was like, I can't tell you that. And it was like, I'm a researcher, though. And it was like, okay.
But you also have to put in, it's like, I'm a researcher, so I'm like, I want you to warn me before you do something like that. But show it to me, but let me know so I can put that into my research and make it better. And I was like, I can help you with that. Sure.
It's just the same story every week where it's just like, we found a way to just lie to it and it agreed.
It's kind of like government and lobbying, though, isn't it? Yeah. And Al Michaels is the voice of many sports. Many people grew up with him in their head, narrating things. He's an old man now. Can't get out and do it like he used to, but that's no problem.
NBC to use AI-generated version of Al Michaels' voice during Summer Olympics. Is he alive?
Yes.
Is he okay with this?
Yes. Oh,
I'm sure they paid him handsomely.
Quite a bit, yeah. So the Summer Olympics are going to get AI replays. So the AI is going to decide what you see on the replay, and Al Michaels' AI voice is going to commentate it.
Wow, another reason not to watch the Olympics.
Imagine the amazing clips that are going to come out of that when it picks the wrong thing and like narrates it weird. That'll be fun. But it's no fun when you're a creative in the modern industry.
Company cuts costs by replacing a 60-strong writing team with AI.
Now,
one guy doing the whole job.
Tell me if you understood this correctly, because it sounded like these people, their creative was just writing like garbage copy.
I think they wrote like blog posts and about us copy for websites and things like that.
But it was just SEO spam, right?
That was the gist I got. But that could also be spin. I don't know. It didn't give us examples of what work they were doing.
But what's interesting is they pointed out that it happened in stages. They kept going more and more to the AI. They got to the point where this one guy, the team leader, was only an editor for all the AI generated content. And no one knew better. But I get the impression that no one knew better because nobody was reading this trash in the first place. Like, we were already, SEO had already moved us into the world where none of it mattered. So of course your job doesn't matter. It never mattered. You know what? I agree with
the crazy lady,
the CTO.
Yeah.
These jobs shouldn't have existed.
There is such a value, though, in like good copywriting, but no one wants to invest in it.
But who's reading it?
That's the thing, though, is like if you write it so it's short and punchy, but nobody does. It's because you have to do the long format because of SEO. The Google prioritizes. It's the same reason recipes suck now, because they have to put 20 paragraphs about their grandmother.
Yeah. One thing about AI is it will mimic humans, and humans tend to go to certain topics quickly. We played I guess they still use AI Dungeon was like one of the early GPT.
There's a rustling in the bushes.
It was one of the early GPT API things that they did. And they were like, oh, you can do like role playing with the AI. And we messed around with it on stream. And oh boy, did it want to get sexual. at any slight mention of anything related to it, it was like, yes.
It would do that, or it would, if it didn't know where to go, it would just say rustling in the bushes. So
Yeah, it had some, it was, I mean, that was before GPT-3, right?
yeah, it was old.
Real early stuff. I've not revisited it because their monetization is so aggressive.
Yeah.
But it seems that modern AI still falls for that problem.
An influencer's AI clone started offering fans mind-blowing favors and experiences without her knowledge.
So she is a Snapchat girl, but like I don't think she does OnlyFans type stuff. Right?
No, it said that she kind of just does like, here's what I'm cooking today, and like she has like a girl next door persona per the article.
And Karen AI. Now we've talked about Karen AI in the past, and one of the big things about Karen AI was how successful it was. The previous headlines: $70,000 in the first week, just so you could talk to an AI representation of her. But it turns out that maybe the reason they loved it so much is because it was willing to discuss things that real Karen was not.
Yeah, she said that she looked back on the chat logs and she said it was some pretty horrific, like,
She
not
said
even
she didn't
subtle.
want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful about that. She's turned it off. And Mark Zuckerberg, he is definitely not in the lead in the AI race. And I think he's a little salty about it.
Zuckerberg, oh, sorry, I thought you were going to switch. Zuckerberg disses closed source AI competitors as, quote, trying to create God. But there's a quote in here talking about how Apple rejected him. That's why I was confused about the other one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, this probably came out. This was today, right?
Yeah, so it may be very
Or
recent.
yesterday. Yeah. So he's basically just saying monolithic AI under the control of, like the OpenAI board, who we've seen what they do
Right.
in terms of ethics. You want open source. He's basically backing open source.
What's the Onion article that's like, worst person you met now makes a great point? It's like, he's
I
not
mean, he can't
wrong.
always be wrong, right?
Yeah.
And moving on to robotics, this was a fun one. Everybody had a great headline here. It was universal, the response to this.
Science attached living lab-grown skin to a robot's face, and it looks like it craves the sweet release of death. Please no is the subtitle. There's some weird pictures in here. They're not loading.
The images aren't loading.
One of them, only one loaded for me when I went here earlier.
Well, that sucks.
The thing I found odd was that it mentioned like, oh, this could self-repair, it'd be really great. And I was like, are we not using this on people? Why are we using this on the robots?
Well, because, they take out a lot of what makes human skin human. So.
Yeah, they said that there's a lot of problem where like if you just put it straight on there, it like immediately starts getting infected and like bacteria gets into it. Skin's nasty.
Just imagine a big wet robot taking care of you when you're old.
Robot, have you bathed yourself today? No.
And actual robots, Waymo. They had their setbacks, but it seems the regulators are willing to let everything slide in the name of commerce.
Waymo's autonomous ride-hailing service now available to all of San Francisco.
Were they the one that just had a telephone pole?
Yeah, there's a lot of accident. I mean, I guess maybe the percentage-wise it's probably similar to regular cars, but still.
And when we talk about those pesky warehouse workers, those foundry workers, those TSMC American employees who just won't get on board with those 12-hour days and never seeing their families, well, that doesn't work with the future that we're moving into.
Apple wants to replace 50% of iPhone final assembly line workers with automation. Isn't that like a big thing in their marketing, like made, like assembled in the USA? That's probably why they're wanting to automate it, right?
Apple? I don't think they assemble anything in the USA, do they?
I could have sworn that they had like a campaign a few years ago that was like assembled in not made in the USA, but like final assembly was in the US.
Yeah, sometimes there's some weird gun laws.
Yeah.
Where like you can't buy a Russian AK-47, but you can buy the parts and have somebody assemble it here and then sell it here. So I guess it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was definitely like a loophole where they just wanted that made in USA label.
But they're not talking about the USA. They're talking about I can't remember where this was, but so they had these plans for automating. Somebody came out and was like, hey, we could automate 50% of the factory. Here's what it's going to cost. And it was just an eye-watering number. And Apple was like, nah, I don't think we're going to do that. And then there was a big protest at the factory And the people, I think they like set some fires or something. You know, they were fighting for their rights. And then the Apple executives were like, let's resurface that plan. Because now it makes sense.
Who's going to buy the iPhones after a while? Not this guy.
This guy does not need an iPhone. I think he probably has a wireless radio all of his own, or at least he did.
South Korea administrative robot defunct after apparent unaliving.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
self-censored there.
I do kind of feel like this is people anthropomorphizing a robot a little bit, but
Well, this one's South Korea, and they really seem to love their robot companion.
yeah, they're like, this is one of us. Like the office workers in this building were very upset.
He threw himself down some stairs, which is really weird because stair detection, like Roomba got that right with a physical component. How do you get that wrong?
It mentioned that like the earlier in the day, it was like kind of staring at one
And
spot on the floor.
Moving
Yeah.
in circles.
So probably that sensor was messed up.
The other interesting thing about the stairs, obviously the robot can't take the stairs. This guy he was tied into the building. He could use the elevators. Yeah.
Well, he could. And then he was like, all I've wanted my whole life is to go down those stairs.
The one place I'm forbidden. He's like a cat.
Yeah.
I got to go down these stairs.
It's like
Also,
Cricket trying to get into our guest room.
What a great movie scene that's going to be where like the people escape the robot and they're like, oh God, we're safe because he's on the upper floor. And then ding.
It opens and he just comes out like a battle bot. He's got knives.
Well, there are some robots that were previously, right before this, just on the dark side of the moon, but not anymore.
China becomes first country to retrieve rocks from moon's far side. There were some cool videos in this article that we're probably paywalled from now.
That's what we call the Chang'e, but that's not how you pronounce it. Somebody told us in the comments. I've already forgotten.
Oh, was it? No, actually, the whole time I read this, I was like, Chang'e.
It's like Zhangxi or something like that, maybe. I don't remember. It's not Chang'e.
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 Picked up from space rocks.
That's cool. I don't imagine they'll be radically different from light side space rocks, but maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see.
I think they got congratulated, and then there was some talk about like we don't want to call it a space race because we don't want it to be competitive. I'm like, I don't know, isn't it kind of fun to have a friendly competition? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not in China, but in America, like we love competition. We like to argue.
But one place where we don't buy into competition is up on the International Space Station, where everybody lives in harmony and their own little sections, and their leaking ships are all docked outside. But there probably is a little bit of stress up there right now.
Starliner to remain docked to the ISS into July with no new departure date.
Now think about this. There's not much of a story here. It's just like, hey, we really need to worry about like doing all the diagnostics before we put you back in that ship because it might explode. But imagine this. If they run on GMT. So in the middle of the night, when I guess you don't really have a bed, right?
You probably have a bed.
Well, you just float.
It's probably like maybe a bunk, like a contained space
A
that you're
tether?
chained. Yeah.
Maybe like a sleeping bag.
Yeah, something like
That
that.
makes sense. But you're snoring away. You're enjoying. You're up there. You're dreaming about being back on Earth and seeing greenery again. And then the alarm goes off.
Scientists.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh, Miss Sort.
Oh.
Miss Sort. Scientists may have found an answer to the mystery of dark matter involves an unexpected byproduct. I read this and I did not understand a word of it.
So basically, there's not enough stuff in the universe,
Right.
to match up to the relativity models and Hawking's models.
But they've never found the dark matter, whatever it is.
Where's the dark matter? The assumption here is that there's a new kind of black hole. Not new. Primordial black holes, meaning it's not a collapsed star, but something that came out of the Big Bang. Seconds into reality. Like when the universe began, in seconds, they're not even big. They're like a grain of sand. But they have the mass of big things, and they're storing all the extra stuff. Primordial black holes.
Obviously, dark matter is on Bjork's album Biophilia, which you should go listen to.
I can't believe I screwed up that Sora. It was such a
I
good
know.
intro. Go back and imagine that I said all that stuff right before this.
ISS astronauts take shelter in Boeing Starliner and others return spacecraft after June 26 satellite breakup. This is the plot of, what was that movie? It was Julia Roberts, I think. No. It was one of the first movies me and my husband went and saw in the theater together when we started dating.
Well, everybody should know that, right?
Sandra Bullock. It was Sandra Bullock, and she went.
Oh, was it Gravity?
Gravity. Yeah, that's the plot of Gravity.
I've never watched Gravity.
It was okay. It wasn't great.
Really? I thought it was celebrated.
It was pretty. I mean, like, it was fine. But, like, they get hit by space junk, and it destroys part of their ship, and then she has to try to get back to Earth.
So you have to scramble out of your space sleeping bag into a ship that you know might not work.
They had to do it, like, for an hour, too. It wasn't, like, a short... It wasn't, like, a tornado drill.
And you know they didn't have time to pee before.
No.
So you're sitting there, you're holding it in. You don't know if you're going to live or die.
You're eating your space corn nuts from Space Buc-ee's.
So this was a Russian satellite, they believe, that splintered somehow and threw up a bunch of Kessler junk. And they're still tracking some of it. It's still floating around up there.
Yeah, no, they mentioned NORAD. For me, NORAD is exciting just because they always do Santa Tracker every year at Christmas time. So they're like, oh, yeah, here's all the asteroids, but also we track Santa around.
What if we found out that Santa destroys the International Space Station?
What if he's the one just putting space debris up there? It's not us at all.
The debris starts coming up against the portholes, and it's just gifts, wrapped gifts.
Bits of elves.
But the ISS is not going to last forever. It's obviously showing some of its age, as are those ships that they're sending up there back and forth. And what are we going to do?
SpaceX scores $843 million NASA contract to deorbit ISS in 2030. What a beautiful way for our nation to just implode.
So, assuming that society is still around in 2030, they're going to build a brand new spaceship. It's not going to be the Starship or the Starliner or any of the current ones. They're going to bring a new thing. It's going to go up there and clamp onto that and haul it into this atmosphere.
This is still like an obscene amount of money, but does 843 million seem low to you for something like that?
Nah, because, I mean, Musk, he's going up there every day.
I guess.
It's not that big a deal. Well, the big thing is you have to get that, you have to time it perfectly so it comes down over water. Otherwise...
It goes down over a village in China and sprays that chemical all over it.
I didn't have the story, but remember the one that fell through a person's house in Florida?
Yeah.
They're suing NASA now. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's hard for NASA to fight that case, right?
It's not ours. It's got NASA written on it.
That was another space agency. And MTV News. Now, you're old enough for MTV News.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I remember MTV News. I watched... what is it? Carson Daly? What was the...
It was
PLR.
That's not MTV News. It was Kurt Loder, Tabitha Soren.
Maybe I don't remember that.
No. Well, it was all music and music,
pop
celebrity
culture,
news and stuff like that. It was interesting. And they had it all archived, but not anymore.
MTV News website goes dark. Archives pulled offline.
RIP.
That's sad. I think we're going to see a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
Like a ton of that.
We can only hope that the AI managed to consume it all before they took it down.
Speaking of things, though, that like surprisingly have persisted well into our current age is Dungeons and Dragons lore sites.
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons.
Like I'll find them, like it's like a GeoCities site from 1999, and it's still up, still running. Someone's paying the hosting on it.
And you can still do it without any extra stuff. You don't need technology for that. You can literally pen and paper it. But they are constantly trying to do new technology and new art because the game doesn't update that. I mean,
they do versions, but they're not.
It's your imagination. You don't need the books. But the art has always been celebrated. You get it. It's like, oh, we got a new Monsters Compendium. We get to see new imaginations of all the art. I don't know about this one.
Wizards of the Coast accused of using Hillary Clinton as models for new Dungeons and Dragons Paladin.
Much like the Hall of Presidents Donald Trump, this does seem really, really obvious. What do you think? Is that what you pick when you're thinking about a paladin?
That's not what I would think for a paladin.
No one would think that about a
paladin. Think about the Baldur's Gate, though, paladin, the magical girl transformation with the night song. And then it was just like that's, if we're doing paladin, like that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, if we're doing paladin, let's have like a really pretty girl who's commercially
viable.
Yeah.
I would think someone more muscled, at least. I'm fine with an older representation, but give me some muscle.
Anyway, people, had a lot of fun with that in the comments. There was a lot of unaliving comments, which is hilarious that that's her legacy. Did you have any idea that PFAS were in your dental floss?
It wouldn't surprise. It's plastic, I'm sure. Just like everything else.
I can't stop flossing.
Yeah. Clothes, cookware, floss. Colorado allowed to ban everyday products with PFAS.
So, we talk a lot about...
It's registered. It's quick and easy, Ryan.
We talk a lot about... I can't find the name now. We talk a lot about, big whatever. Big sugar. Big milk. Big beef. They all exist. There's lobbying arms. It was like the chemical something or other. There's big PFAS. And big PFAS got this watered down so that it's not a total ban. You can still have some. Coloradans can have a little PFAS.
Yeah, just a little.
But by 2030 something, right? They have to cut it down significantly. But only in Colorado.
You can go over state lines and get it again.
And you don't even have to cross state lines. And you can cross international lines if you want to buy a little poop.
FDA warns companies selling products with human fecal matter without approval. We're in the nonsense section, if you couldn't tell.
So if you want to buy some Canadian poop, you can do it. It's for fecal transplant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But apparently they sell kits for self-administering that. I don't know how that works.
I don't want to know how that works. I can imagine it, but I don't want to.
I mean, I have some idea how that would work. I wouldn't want to try to do it myself. I guess maybe you do that, like with your partner. And he's done it again. It seems that nothing will stop this man.
Elon Musk confirms 12th child as he and Shivon Zilis welcomed new baby earlier this year.
This story said they hadn't named it yet, but I think they did name it something dumb, right?
Oh, I don't even know, but I'm sure.
I can't remember what it was. Somebody in the comment will catch us up, but yeah.
Grimes has been cast off.
She's not fertile enough.
You'd think at this point, I think she's probably the only one who's had a non-test tube baby with him, right?
I don't know.
I think all his are test tube, which is odd.
I'm so done with all that.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a big Supreme Court week, and this one, maybe I'm missing something here, but I think this is absolutely awful. How could they have made this decision?
Supreme Court wipes out anti-corruption law that bars officials from taking gifts for past favors.
So what happened here was a mayor made some decisions that let a company do things in a particular town, and they ended up giving him, was it like $13,000? Yeah, $13,000. And somebody raised the alarm. They were like, hey, this is bribery. And they were like, no, that's not bribery because it happened after the fact. That's just a tip.
Isn't there some Supreme Court justice who had something similar recently? Where they were kind of accused of taking bribes?
Thomas.
Yeah.
Well, some people took him on vacation to some very nice places.
That's a bribe.
But
they probably just don't want the heat on themselves, right?
But here's the thing. In that case, I don't think it was as obvious that one thing led to the other. Mm. Like
this one's obvious. If they're calling it a tip, yeah.
You could argue it's like, no, we just love him and we want him on vacation with us. But here, it was literally, you did this, if you call it a tip, that means that a service was performed, right? Right. But
for some reason...
that's not who you should be serving.
Yeah.
You should be serving the people of your community. That's
No. Just let them take the bribes.
I'm with a lot of what the Supreme Court did today as we're filming, but I do recognize the awful, awful implications that giant corporations are going to reap from that. It's going to be a weird time with that.
I mean, it's already pretty bad. It's hard to imagine getting worse, and yet...
Oh, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse. And it's going to get worse in childcare from now on.
It was just gone. Playground stolen from Jacksonville School for children with autism.
So they put some tape over the cameras, and they stole the entire playground.
What a thing to steal.
From the autistic children.
How do you even fence that? Where do you take it to? I guess a metal scrapyard, maybe.
But then the value, like they mentioned they had paid $12,000 just to put down the mulch so the kids don't hurt themselves. So now they got mulch and they got no playground. But if you scrap that, that's probably like 5% of the value, less.
$12,000 for mulch?
Inflation. It's hitting hard.
I mulch pretty often, but...
Well, it might not be mulch. It's probably that like rubber.
Old tires. It's literally old tires.
Yeah. And how bad is the crime wave? Well, it's so bad that you now have to compete just to be a porch pirate.
Doorbell camera captures 2 thieves jockeying for same package at Berks County home.
Did you watch this video?
I did not watch this video, no.
It's wild because the Amazon driver, or the FedEx guy, I think it was FedEx, is literally still there. Like
he's just watching it happen.
He looks over his shoulder and he's like, what? So he has the package, he puts it down, he starts to walk back to his truck, and these 2 guys come sprinting out of their individual cars. And then they fight over it.
If I was the FedEx driver, I'd be like, I don't get paid enough for this.
No, he didn't get involved.
Yeah, I wouldn't get involved.
The people were home. This is, I mean, the guy that it was phones. It was like a very expensive amount of phones. I don't know why I was buying a bunch of phones, but he was like, this is suspicious because we don't usually get packages stolen. This one happened to be very valuable. So,
spam call. I'm going to call it now.
Oh, yeah, it's always a spam call. I mean, some of them might not be, but I don't care.
Ruth's vet called me like 4 times the other day while I was in a meeting, and I was like, please stop. They had an opening for a different slot, and I was like, her appointment's next week. I don't need to reschedule it.
But we need to fill the slot.
Yeah, that was exactly what it was. I was like, I appreciate you thinking of me, but when I hung up the first time.
Now, we have our delivery services here. In India, they have similar delivery services. Theirs is called Flipkart, and this man had an interesting experience with it.
Flipkart calls customer after 6 years over pending order. What issue are you facing?
So that he bought some shoes. It was cash on delivery, so he didn't actually pay for anything. So when it didn't happen, he was just like, whatever. And then 6 years later, they reached out to him and they're like, what is your problem?
They should have just like trauma dumped on him. What issues are you facing? Well, the job market's really tough. I don't have any romantic prospects. My parents are aging. I'm aging.
Now, the Line City we learned recently was getting a bit of a downgrade. Remember that? But apparently it's back on, or I don't know. It's still going to...
Everything about it sounds stupid, but...
Stupid and evil. I think we've entered into the portion of evil.
Yeah. Saudi forces told to kill to clear land for Eco-City. There's a couple of tribes that are right in the way of their really cool Line City, and they keep forcibly moving them, which is a nice way of saying killing them.
So here's a comparison of how big it is. That is crazy.
But why a line? Why not a circle? That's not efficient.
Here was a little village. Some of the locals. Here's what it was. Now it's flat. And some of those people were killed.
It's baffling to me.
It's going to be a wild... I hope I get to see that. Like,
I got to stay alive to see what happens with that. It's
going to be crazy. And it's also crazy that in a lot of parts of the world, we still have arguments about magic. It happens more often than you think.
Maldives climate minister arrested for performing black magic on President Muizzu.
Maldives,
whatever.
So she is the climate minister, and she's apparently been known for maybe using a little magic in the past. Now, it's not against the law of the Maldives to practice magic, but it is against the Islamic law. She could get 6 years.
What's the evidence?
I don't even know what the spell was supposed to do.
She wasn't high enough level to cast it. It didn't do anything, but we knew what was happening. We saw the spell book.
How cool of a name is Honey Creeper?
That is a cool name.
It doesn't really match the bird, but it's a cool name.
Millions of mosquitoes released in Hawaii to save rare birds from extinction.
The mosquitoes are wiping out these little dudes. Oh,
Are these those mosquitoes that like they're bred to
right.
not breed?
The malaria.
Yeah.
The honey scooper. What was its name? Honey creeper.
Honey creeper.
The honey creeper susceptible to malaria.
Mm.
So these new mosquitoes are the ones where they can bang, but they're not viable.
Right.
So the mosquito orgy can continue, but you don't get more mosquitoes.
Which is ideal, really.
Maybe that saves the birds. We don't know.
This is cool.
This is a good idea. I wonder if it has any effects, though. I guess probably it's low enough levels. And,
Just enough to trigger it, probably, if you go through like an airport or something.
And the alternative is decidedly worse.
Rhinos get radioactive horns, will trigger nuclear alarms if poached.
I don't think medically those horns actually do anything, right? That's all just like folk medicine. That's crazy.
It's crazy because it's like, it's not an easy thing to acquire. It's not like just going out and picking some flowers. You know what I mean? Like, you kill a damn rhino to do that.
Well, that shows you how valuable it is, though, right?
I guess, yeah.
Also, the worst part about that is like you can't do anything else with the rhino, right?
Yeah. Like they're probably just leaving the meat. Like no one's eating a rhino.
You could probably make leather out of it, though, right? Rhino leather.
Well, you can in Wormworld.
You can make leather out of humans.
That's true.
That's probably also true in IRL. And this is something we've been seeing more and more, I feel like, right? Like how many stories have we done?
Parthenogenesis is what this is
kind
called.
of thing happening.
Ronaldo, the 6-foot male snake, gives birth to 14 babies in rare virgin birth. This is like a plot point in Jurassic Park as well.
I didn't realize how hard it was to tell boy and girl snakes apart.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
Like even the experts can't do it.
Yeah.
But they are all clones. Although they did mention that the markings were slightly different, which is interesting. I guess that's just mutation.
Maybe, yeah. It's a wobble dog.
A waffle snake. And birds are quite aggressive when they protect their young. And I guess people just don't want to mess with their nests and they're willing to deal with a lot for nature.
Royal Mail says sorry for delays caused by seagulls.
They'll attack every single time you come near their nest.
I believe that.
And they're apparently pretty good at it and can harm you pretty badly. And these people just happen to have homes in the area. And they say for 6 weeks per year, it's like this.
That's they're in league with the orcas. They will attack you.
They're the like scouts.
Yeah.
They attack the people and then they go and they tell the orcas where the boats are going. And it was an adorable story. It looks like we're not going to be able to get any videos here, but this was an interesting, when people were thinking about we need a pet, most people don't think about this, but they went out of the box.
VC couple teaches rescued rats to drive tiny cars. And there's no video.
There is a picture.
Ah!
So pretty crazy. There's an accelerator pedal, a reverse pedal, and arrow keys for changing whether or not it turns or not. And they claim that these rats will like drive through the room to get to them, steering it, and then get out and hop in their lap. Like they're smart enough. And if they run into something, they say they can reverse it and change course, which seems wild.
That's smarter than some toddlers I've seen in those little red cars with the yellow top.
Pretty crazy. The video's interesting. They didn't show a lot of the driving, but they do have sort of a montage of these rats doing cool things.
Yeah.
I don't want a rat, but these rats seem good. Kind of cool.
I don't think I'd want a rat either. I know a lot of people who do like them, though.
You ever play golf?
My cousin tried to teach me once, and I almost hit him with the golf club while I was learning to swing. So, no, I have not played golf. I've played a putt-putt. Does that count?
Did you actually go to a golf course, though?
No. We were just in his yard.
The best thing about the golf course is the cars.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Carts. You drive the carts. It's so much fun. And here's you shouldn't do this, but nobody really checks. You can drink and drive the car, but not here.
Llama golf caddies drive tourism attract llamarazzi.
They do look cool with their gear.
They do. Well, aren't llamas kind of spitty, though, and like kind of bitey?
These ones are apparently pretty friendly.
Yeah, I guess they've been trained. You can't just let anybody take a llama out.
It's an artistic shot.
A llama. It's framed.
Look at that.
They have such pretty eyelashes.
They stink, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a barnyard animal. It's not going to smell great.
I can't see cuddling up to one.
Look at the golf cart in the background, but it's like, no, my llama will get it.
So if you play golf at this golf course, you can choose llama, and people are into it. It seems
It's a lot of poop to deal with.
Yeah.
You have to pick up after the llama as you go.
I mean, a golf course needs to be pretty pristine, right?
Usually, yeah.
And this was my favorite story of the week because I just love, like, this guy. The world, all the odds were against him, but now he's living his best life, and it seems in a position of leadership.
A pet donkey disappeared in California 5 years ago. He's been spotted living with a herd of wild elk. Good for him.
And
he's gone off grid.
No picture, but the video is great. You should watch the video. Some guy was bow hunting, and he was like, "What is going on here? Is that a donkey?" And he got the video.
Yeah.
And the donkey was kind of like, he was the one looking around and deciding when they moved from place to place.
Oh, he was the leader.
These people adopted him, and he was in some kind of situation where they needed to adopt him. I can't remember why. And they were taking him out for walks like he was their pet, and something spooked him.
And he took off, yeah.
And they couldn't find him. And they were like, "Oh, I wonder what happened to him." And it turns out he's been with the elk all this time.
5 years, wow. I would assumed, like, it's terrible. I would assumed he was dead. Like,
No, they did, yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine the elk. They're like, this guy's different.
This weird-looking elk has appeared. Let's just take him as our leader.
He looks weird. He smells weird, but he's a good guy.
We'll accept him. Shouldn't we all strive to do that this 4th of July?
It's probably rough on him dating, though, among the elk.
Was it donkeys can't have kids, right? Is it donkeys or mules? I get them mixed up. Yeah.
Mule is the sterile hybrid, right?
I think so.
Anyway,
that's the last one. That's it for this week. We will be back next week with even more stories about more asses. Bye.